God, it's sunny out here today, isn't it, guys? Hey, it's Joe here doing a car review video. Technically, this is Wednesday, and you'll be seeing this tomorrow, which is Thursday, which is the scheduled day for these. And today I thought I would review the 2016 Chevy Cruze RS. Now, before you go to your keyboard and say something funny like, hey, you're an idiot, you already did that, why would you do the same car? As you can see, this is the all-new car. And to the two people that pointed it out before, yes, I know that I reviewed the old version of this car. I did that on purpose. I did that because Chevrolet is one of the only manufacturers that I know of that is willing to sell their last generation car and their new generation car. The reason for that, of course, has to do with the fact that Chevrolet builds a lot of vehicles. So they're always going to have enough for you, the customer, to walk in and go, hey, I like this car, but you didn't have one on the show floor, so what am I going to look at? By having as many as possible, you, the customer, get the best possible choice and the best possible price. So that's why I did the old one first, and now I'm going to do the new one, so we can kind of compare the two cars, apples to apples, and see what differences they made. So let's we'll do the look around. I'm sorry, it's very bright out, so one eye is closed, but here we go. Starting on the outside. For the all-new model, they did go with the projector beam headlamps. Now, just so you know, projector beam headlamps are not the same as HIDs. Projector beam headlights still use a halogen bulb, however, it's focused differently and comes out of the lens in a much more focused beam, but it doesn't use a gas. It's still a halogen with the element inside that lights up. More cost-effective in case of repairs, and for the majority of people, they'll never even care about the difference. This one is the RS package, just like the last car was. This one has also the integrated fog lights. It's got the more familial face now. It shares a lot of its looks with the Chevy Volt and the new Chevy Malibu, which is a pretty good thing, actually, because they're good-looking vehicles. This car is riding on 18-inch wheels. However, you can get the RS package with the 17-inch wheels if you want to. They moved the mirrors from here on the glass to here on the door, partially for aerodynamics reasons, pardon me, and partially because they wanted to make sure that you had enough visibility, because as you'll see when we get into the vehicle, they actually moved the front of the windshield a lot farther forward than it was in the last car. It's actually so far forward that when I have the camera sitting up on the dashboard, I can't even reach it. So yeah, it was all done in the efforts of safety as well as packaging reasons to give you as much interior room as humanly possible without sacrificing exterior dimensions, because once you get too big, you move into a separate class and it just gets annoying. This one is kind of filthy, and I do apologize. It's been raining for the last few days, but here's a shot of the trunk, and as you can see, it's very large, typical small car setup. Just a couple of speakers up there in the rear dashboard, and then the pass-through when the seats are down. Nothing fancy, but you know, you got to show stuff. And of course, in industry standard, the backup camera is now standard on all vehicles, and come in the next year or so, I believe it is, they're actually mandating that cross traffic and collision become standard. So as a buyer, you're going to be much more protected than you were before, and that again is a great thing, especially when you consider that all the technologies that they're cramming into cars now used to be stuff that was only on like the Mercedes S-classes at $130,000, $140,000, $150,000. So for basically 1/7 the price of a Mercedes-Benz S-Class, you get all the same amenities. So before I go much further, I want to point out something I saw when I went to release the hood. That's the release the hood maneuver, so that I could show you the engine, and it was kind of funny. It's the hood release. As you can see, it's not your standard little dog bone that normally would be right there. It's quite large, and I didn't realize the first time I tried to film this why that was like that. But just now, when I tried to open it when the door was closed, you can't actually open this hood when the door is closed. That's a good thing, because there's always the chance that someone's foot could accidentally grab the hood release, and all of a sudden you'd have one of those movie moments where the hood slams into the windshield and everybody's screaming, and then, you know, unlike some movies like Are We There Yet, where you're just gonna skitter off down a hill and be safe, no, you're gonna kill somebody. So good thinking, GM. We have the newest version of Chevrolet's Ecotec 4-cylinder. This one is turbocharged in order to keep it at a small displacement while making plenty of power so that it satisfies the larger majority of drivers and owners out there, and also to make sure that you're not in the way of traffic when you're driving down the road. I'd have to say it's about the same noise level as the last car was, although the ride is a little bit suppler, and I'll talk about that once we're inside of it. Any new technologies to really think of? Not really. The Ecotec motor for Chevrolet is kind of like what the 4G63 engine was for Mitsubishi, and actually that engine was used in some Chrysler products as well, but it has been in development long enough, just like the small block Chevy, that Chevy has gotten it right. GM has gotten it right, and it's a pretty damn good motor. Is it a little bit on the harsh side? Yeah, of course, but you're talking about a mid $20,000 vehicle that's designed to, you know, be a 10-year car. All cars are designed to be 10-year cars. Sorry, I'm just going to throw that out there. They can last a lot longer than they used to, but most cars are designed with a 10-year lifespan. So there you go. Let's move on to the interior. I'm going to show you a couple of things I've noticed that differentiate from the last car that are kind of cool, and just some quirky stuff you might not have even thought of. Here we are in the back seat. I decided to hop in here first to show you that I'm a very tall guy. I'm 6'4", and even with the sunroof mechanism, which is right here, that's why there's a little bit lower roof line, I'm okay. Obviously, this is not the preferred seating position for somebody as tall as I am, and unless you're happen to be like a future NBA star 12-year-old who's 6'4" already, probably not where you're going to be sitting anyway. So on longer drives, I would suggest that you plan according to height, maybe, and put the wives, the girlfriends, or the really short boyfriends back here. So there you go. Let me show you a couple of cool features about the back seat. Even though it's finished out in black leather, it's not too dark in here, even though it probably appears that way on film. That's because I have a sunroof. Yeah, that's pretty cool to have. But another cool feature, and I will give props to some of the Korean and Japanese companies, because now even the kids can be comfortable in the back seat. You have rear seat warmers in this model. We've gotten to that point in our society where even the lower end of the car spectrum is fully loaded. And this goes to what I was just saying outside. It's kind of an expected thing. And the company that I'd like to point out that I feel kind of instituted this new way of thinking is, in my opinion, Volkswagen. Because if you look at it, Volkswagen was always the people's car, the people's company. It wasn't the best value out there forever, but it wasn't a bad value. And then when they redesigned the Volkswagen Passat, they raised the price by like 23, 24% when they did that in 1999, I believe it was, when the new Passat came out. But when they did that, they made tons of their options standard on the car. Yet it didn't drive away buyers. It actually increased the take rate for Volkswagen, which is how they've managed to become one of the biggest companies in the world, is because they're continuously pushing what people are willing to pay for and willing to invest the money to make their cars better. Yeah, they cheated on the diesels, and that's more of an engineering and other side thing. But on the other side, think about what they did, because everybody's, oh, Volkswagen cheated on their diesels. Volkswagen did this. Volkswagen did that. Well, for the last 9 years, people have been driving their Volkswagens, never once complaining about their gas mileage, and still getting plenty of power. So technically, Volkswagen broke federal law to make a car better for you, the buyer, because they realized that if their cars were as certified as they were claiming they were, they wouldn't have gotten the same power. They would have been a little bit down on gas mileage. So yeah, they did something wrong, but for once it was in our benefit, unlike Takata or other scandals that will remain unnamed. So yeah, thank you very much, Volkswagen. And it pushed all the automakers to up their game. Ford jumped on board probably, I'd say, when the Fusion came out, like 2007-ish, is when they started their trend. 10 years later, but whatever. They started their trend to improving their cars, and all the auto manufacturers at about the same time did the exact same thing. It could have also been because 2007, I believe, was the year that traction control was mandated by the federal government, and just the added cost of that was going to raise the price of the cars, so all the manufacturers decided at the same time, hey, maybe we should all just start doing what Volkswagen does and just throw the whole book of stuff at them. So congratulations to us, the buyers, and congratulations to the federal government for once for actually getting something done. This car, much like the last car I did review, the other 2016, is pretty well loaded out. They replaced the cloth on the dashboard with a leather substance. Pretty nice. I like piano black finishes. They do gather dust quite a bit, but I think it's a classier look than the fake carbon fiber or the fake aluminum. So good going there. If I get around to doing a video on my pickup truck, I'll show you. I actually did that to my radio surround. It is, let's turn her on. Standard gauge package, of course. In here you've got your tachometer, your speedometer, your fuel, and your temp gauge. Now this one does have the configurable screen in the center stack, or excuse me, in the center of the dashboard, so that you don't have to take your eyes off the road much, so you can get to your navigation, your phone, your audio, your settings for things like your automatic start and how long things like the headlights stay on, since it does.
Demonstration mode, connected by OnStar's high-speed 4G connection. Press the blue OnStar button to learn more.
I always do that. Every time I start talking, I forget that she's going to talk too. It's got the standard 8-inch, not standard, excuse me, the optional 8-inch screen that has navigation, Sirius XM, of course. One kind of a cool thing, and I like this style, is having the knobs have the display for the temperature inside of it, and then the fan settings. I don't know, it's just kind of a fun little thing, I think. But you can also, of course, do everything with the touch screen. They did change up the shifter style. As you recall from the last car we looked at, it had a gated manumatic shifter. This one has moved them to the top of the shifter, so it's just buttons now, but it's still well, I was going to say effective, but it still works. Of course, you have your USB and your standard 3.5mm audio jack, so you can run your aux cables. This car is equipped with a parking assist function, so you can parallel park much easier. And as you can see, this one is on the higher end compared to the last vehicle. The last vehicle was in the high 25 range. However, this vehicle has so much more technology than that car did. And I'm not just talking about the navigation. Yeah, that always adds at least a G right there. But this one has the cross traffic alert. It has the lane keep. It has the upgraded navigation system, and it's just, it's worth the extra money. That's about all I can say about it. And interior wise, it's actually a bigger car, which I do like, because I am a bigger guy. There's just no way around that. I'm not a small guy. And in this car, I have even more room than the last car, which I thought was plenty big enough. This inside to me is as big as a 2015 Malibu, at least in the front. The back seat's a little bit tighter, but it's still better than a Ford Focus. So next, I think we will do the drive. So let me readjust and flip the camera around, and we will go. All right, now we're gonna do the test drive portion of it. And as I said before, I wanna do these as if I have never been in this car before, as if I was the buyer going out to drive the car for the first time. As I drive it, I will give you my feelings about ride, handling, braking, things like that. I don't want to beat on cars like this one that only have 10, 11 miles on them, but I'm not going to be afraid to accelerate a little bit. So what we will do is we will shift it manually and see how it goes. Not bad. It is a small turbo 4, so there's always going to be a little bit of turbo lag as it spools up, and that's to be expected. With the smaller engines, until the turbo has spooled up a little bit, there's really not much there. So this one is doing pretty well. It's not a heavy car. It's not a micro car by any means, but it's not a super heavy car, so a 1.4 is more than enough to drive this car around. I think it would be overkill with the 2-liter, but that would still be a fun car to see if you ask me. It rides about the same as the last car. This car is on the optional 18-inch wheels. Again, you could get the 17s, but I wanted to grab one that was as close to the other car as possible, so I got one with all the options on it. So it rides just a little bit stiffer, but I'm going to attribute that to the sidewalls being much smaller than they were on the other car. This one, of course, has the blind spot monitors on it, so in each mirror there's a little light that comes on if a car comes into your blind spot, as well as lane keep, which is displayed in the center screen on the dashboard. Noise levels, it's actually quieter than the last car, and I'd probably put some of that down to the redesign of the car. It's not quite as blunt, and the windshield is raked at a more steep angle. Steep or obtuse? Anyways, it comes back more aerodynamically, we'll put it that way. The steering is nice and tight, and I know it's a brand new car, so you're gonna be like, well, of course it's gonna be nice, but what I mean is there's no real dead on center feel. You can see in the video as you're watching, just these little minute movements is moving the whole car. So I personally like that. In a bigger car like the old town cars, or even in the new MKSs, or even in an Impala, I think I would want a little bit of more of a dead spot than in a small car like this, because this car is supposed to be nimble. This is your city car. This is the car that you go to work with, so you need to be able to park it easy, you need to be able to drive it around corners easily, and that's what the quicker steering does for it. I haven't dove into the menus yet to see if it's got adjustable steering. I don't think it does. I think that's just on the performance cars, but it still feels really good. And it's communicative. Sorry, that's a pain in the ass word I didn't even know I was going to say. But I can feel what the tires are doing pretty good. I don't feel like I'm completely disconnected like some of the old floaty boaty cars. So that's good. I'm following a leaf right now, so that's kind of funny. So 6-speed automatic transmission is plenty in my opinion. Now, Chrysler has the 9 speeds, and I've driven one of those, and quite frankly, it's a little bizarre to drive a car with a 9-speed automatic transmission, because that son of a gun is just shifting and shifting and shifting and shifting and shifting. It almost seems like it would wear out the transmission faster. I think 6 speeds is a really nice medium to get to. You don't need 10 speeds, you don't need 11 speeds, and I know the reason they're doing it is because then they can have more powerful engines with more gear ratios that will get better gas mileage. Whatever, good for the world. Give me a car that gets 9 miles to the gallon and goes 300 miles an hour is my opinion. But I guess that's probably why I drive a Mustang. I thought I was hearing a little bit of tire noise, but that's just the road. Comfortable seat. It's actually very supportive in the back for just a base seat. I don't know if there's an upgrade from this seat. I don't think so, and I don't think there really needs to be, because this car doesn't really need it. All right, so if I was the buyer, I've gotten on it a little bit. I've taken a few corners. I'm doing a freeway on-ramp right now, and the car's staying pretty stable, as stable as any of these small cars can. The grip is nice with the tires that it has. Yeah, and even over a lot of these like potty holey things, I'm sure you're hearing it through the camera, because the camera is basically touching the car right now, so you'll hear the reverberations more than I will. But it's not bad at all. Good sight lines as I look around the car, which can be a problem sometimes when style wins out over functionality, and you see that in a lot of cars. For one that I'd like to point out would be the 2015 Mustang. They lowered the roof line to give it a lower look to the car, as well as they raked the rear window a little bit more. So it kind of fell into the same problem that the previous generation Camaro had, where you're killing your 3/4 view. Personally, I don't care, because I know how to use my mirrors the correct way, so it compensates for that. But it's nice to be able to just kind of dart your eyes a little bit and be able to see everything. So A+ on the visibility. I can't really put copyrighted music on here to demonstrate the sound system in it, but it is a Bose equipped sound system in this car, and it's pretty nice. Definite bass, definite highs and mids, so it's plenty good enough for 99% of the buyers out there, unless of course you're an audiophile, which is a word I actually hate, because that just means you get aroused by noise. If you're an audio enthusiast, you could probably upgrade it. But for, like I said, 99% of the buying public, it's an awesome stereo system. Bose has had a very, very long contract with GM. They also did Nissan and Infiniti as well. I'm not 100% sure if they're still with those. I think they went to a Harman Kardon system. Yeah, I think they did. So Bose, they still know how to make some music. So we're on the way back now. Now I'm into just kind of the relaxing and looking out the window phase that pretty much all the new drivers are going to have. And I think that's where this new glass that's kind of in the front window is. A, the length of the door would make it a little impractical to have one piece of glass this big because it can wear out the motors. And B, it does also help with sight lines for corners and seeing objects that you might be running into, like parked cars and things. So not a bad design touch. Button layout is pretty straightforward. It's easy to read, easy to understand. I understand why they went to the pictograms. It's because this vehicle, of course, is designed to be sold everywhere. When you do that, you can't just have English on everything. I know that certain regulations prevent certain radio systems from being used in certain countries. Like, I know that our version of the Sony system in like the Focus isn't the same as the one they get in Europe, and I think it also has to do with radio frequencies and stuff. They get weird radio frequencies. They get weird radio frequencies that we do not. So when they change that, that's the only thing that needs to change, because all the climate controls are just pictures. All the other stuff has pictures. So way to go. You can be illiterate and drive this car. I do like that they have the button for the lane keep assist right on the steering wheel versus having it up here on the turn signal switch like some Ford products do. It's not a horrible thing, but I have on occasion accidentally turned off the lights when I went to disable the system on a couple of cars. And I've also, you know, if you tap it just wrong, you can hit your high beams and then somebody thinks you're an idiot. So again, just good forward thinking on their part. Come on, Grandma. It's actually got a pretty pleasant sound to it. It's actually a little bit smoother than the engine that was in the previous generation car. So I think they've done a little bit more NVH work. That's noise, vibration, and harshness for all of you uninitiated. So there we go. We're back now. So this was the review on the all-new 2016 Chevy Cruze with the RS package. So everybody that was typing in, and by everybody I mean the two guys, although one guy was really cool about it when I said, hey man, if you notice I didn't say it was the all-new, I just said it was new. He was a cool guy and he said, okay, I get it. So as I'm parking it back, I would like to thank Britt Chevrolet. That is my employer, as well as the dealership that I'm using to test this vehicle. Now, I'm pretty sure that they would want me to put their information in the description down below, so it will be there in case you would like to visit the website and ask us any questions that you may have. And chances are, if you send an email, you'll be sending it directly to me, and I will be happy to answer it. So, yeah. Park assist works good. There we go. Any questions, leave them down below. I'll answer any questions you have. I can email you any information you need. And again, I don't have to just drive Chevrolets. However, the dealership I work at is exclusively Chevrolet. We own Ford stores, but I don't have access to those stores yet. You guys were actually going to be the ones that are going to help me do that. By watching the videos, thumbing them up, leaving me comments, I can show to my bosses, hey, look, this is a good thing to do, because A, I get to drive all kinds of cars, and as you've seen, I've only driven one Camaro so far, so it's not like I'm sitting there running out trying to drive a Z06, but B, it also shows that it's not a waste of time, and it gets the information out there. And I'm not caring about selling a car. If I was, I would be going to Chevrolet and asking them to sponsor me. What I want to do is show you what current car technologies can do. Give me any questions you want on any type of vehicle. I've been doing this for almost 20 years, so I've driven just about everything. So if you want to know about a 2009 Challenger, or you want to know about a 2007 Jag, or you want to know about a 2016 frickin' Silverado, which we have a bunch of, I'll tell you whatever you want to know, and I'll use your suggestions to determine which vehicle I try next. So there we go. I will put a link in the description, or at least the website in the description for the company, and I will talk to you guys later. This will be the last car video this week, and then come Monday I will do another one. Yeah, that's about it. So please, thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever, just get the message out there. Just if you have questions about cars, they need to get answered so that you know what you're buying. That's my goal.